What is the creepiest thing you have seen in the woods or elsewhere? While hiking on the Pacific Crest Trail, I was ready to quit for the night and saw a clear spot with no pine cones or sticks to remove. I assumed someone had cleared it before me, but when I stepped on the spot, the earth sunk like I had just been put there. I slept on the spot but pondered it. The next morning, it became clear that someone had dug up that spot and then covered it. I think I slept on someone's recent grave. Not sure how creepy this is, but I was on a week-long camping trip with some friends and I woke up with a weasel sitting on my chest looking at me. I never knew I could scream that loud. When I was a kid, I used to live on a tiny property in the woods. My house was basically built around where the stables were once. My room was back when it was still stables, where the hay was stocked. Before getting to the creepiest thing, I need to say some other stuff. When you were in my room, you could sometimes smell hay out of nowhere. My dog was always refusing to go upstairs because something was scaring the shit out of it there. You could sometimes hear knocking on doors. There were 3 entrance doors in my house, sometimes all at once. Now that this has been said, we can go to the fun thing. So my room had a big window that gave a big view over the woods, and my garden was basically a clearing. Once I heard a kid giggling from upstairs. I ran there, only to find my window open and something running out in the woods. I spent 2 more years in this house and fucking felt insecure the whole time. For those who think kids were pranking me, I highly doubt that any kid would survive such a fall from my room into the garden, plus private property. The only entrance has a big portal that is inconvenient to climb. I had a sink candle on a shelf in my room that sometimes went crazy, but that I mean moving, even by daylight. Some minor things here and there, cold spots, one of our chickens found dead in the morning. There is another fucked up thing. I got a little brother. At that time, his room was in front of mine, and we used to go to sleep with both our doors open so we could talk. Once I woke up during the night to see something lurking in my room. I just thought this was my mother, as she always checked on us before going to bed. The next morning I realized that my brother saw it too, and he and I were home alone for the night as my mother was away for work. Small town in a relatively rural area. A few years after the fact, I'm now relatively certain it was a skinwalker. About 10 years ago, I was at my dad's house for the weekend in Kentucky. The Appalachian people are very superstitious, hailing from the Scots-Irish people and just never losing that side of them. My dad wasn't superstitious, I thought, and was not one to be easily scared. It was about 10 at night, and we randomly decided to go into town to get some McDonald's. Daddy always insisted on walking in front of me, and I always assumed it was so I wouldn't accidentally step on a snake. But now I don't think that is the case, so he turned on the porch light and opened the screen door. He had put 1 foot on the porch, and there was this god-awful sound. I will never in my life forget it. There was a screech, followed by the sound of a crow. But it wasn't a crow. The best way I can describe it is if a person were mimicking a crow call. My hair stood up on the back of my neck, and my dad retreated into the house. He slammed the big door and locked it, something I had never seen him do. Before I could ask a question, he said, "It isn't safe. We can go tomorrow morning." And so we did. But the rest of the night we stayed inside. My dad didn't even go outside to smoke a cigarette. He even let the outside dogs stay in the house. We never talked about that again. But that was one of the scariest moments of my life. Went walking in the woods while camping with an old boyfriend to where the road ended and found a giant underground cage. After exploring, we started kissing and suddenly heard little kids giggling all around us. hightailed it out of there and never looked back. This happened 7 years ago. I was living in a rented house where we had 2 bathrooms. One of them was broken and unusable. It smells really bad when you open the bathroom door. I always have this one bolted and locked. One night, a thunderstorm was approaching the city. The power went off because the winds were too strong. I was sitting all alone in the living room when I heard a thudding sound coming from the bathroom. I thought it could be because of the air pressure difference due to the thunderstorm. Continued to do my assignments, and there was a loud thud, and I swear I saw the bathroom door open. I freaked out and left the house and stayed on the terrace until the power came. I don't know where the lock went and how the fuck it opened. When I went back in, the door was partially closed. Locked it tight and tied it with a rope. Obviously, I chickened out of that house in a couple of weeks, never going near there again. Reminds me of when I was 6, my sister was 3 and our baby sister was only a few months old. My sister, mom, baby and I were the only people in the house. The baby was napping and we were digging around doing whatever in other room. All of a sudden, the baby started screaming. We were startled, but hey, babies. But our mom bent to comfort her and then yelled for us to come in there right now. We walked in and she yelled, "Who bit the baby?" We told her we didn't know what she was talking about. She showed us a perfect, small, definitely human bite mark on the baby's leg. She grounded both of us for denying that one of us did it, but we were together the whole time. It wasn't us. Some other weird stuff. Once, when I was about 14, I was up really late at night, sitting on my bed reading. I was sitting with one foot on the floor. It was quiet. My sister was asleep. We all slept in the attic, so technically a shared room, but they were pretty far away on the other side of house walls. I felt cold fingers tied to the back of my calf, like pressing gently and then drawing back. It was very distinct. I jumped up immediately, obviously pretty freaked out. I couldn't see my sisters clearly, so I thought, oh, a stupid prank. But I looked under the bed, and there was nothing under there. Not just no one, but nothing. I didn't keep things under there. And it was hot summertime, so there were no sheets or blankets in my bed that could have fallen and touched me. It shook me very badly. For several days I was on edge, but eventually I forgot about it. Thanks to my dad's hoarding, our basement is a miserable warren of shelves and stacks of random items with a few aisles. The stairs are that configuration where there is another set of stairs above it, to the attic. So it has a sloped ceiling in the way of your line of sight till about halfway down. A few months after the first incident, I went down there to get some pasta out of our storage room. It was midday. As I was coming down the stairs and cleared the ceiling so I could see, I saw something fly behind the shelf. It was bright, white I think, and looked solid, like a shirt or other piece of cloth, or a piece of paper. It was like something had quickly stepped behind the shelf. I froze and stared and listened, but didn't see or hear anything else. No air moves through this basement, so I didn't see how it could be something flapping because of a breeze. I crept down the stairs and along the aisle and stuck my head around the corner. Nothing there. I hunted around for a while for a piece of paper or cloth or anything it could have been, but didn't find a single thing. Very disturbing. I was always a little anxious about the basement, but after that I was flat out scared of it, and even now I'm glad to be away from it. At some point in the winter, I was scaring myself reading spooky stories, and it occurred to me to ask my sisters if anything weird had happened in the house lately. The younger said no, but the other did have something. This must have been some months after what happened to me, because my sister was doing homework when it happened. She was in the sunroom, which protrudes from the front of the house, and it was late at night. She didn't remember what time, but everyone was asleep. She had all the blinds closed, though she couldn't see outside. As she was sitting there was an extremely loud whoosh and a thump from outside. It was so loud she felt like it shook the house. She didn't investigate. She chased it upstairs and hid in her bed, where she fell asleep after a while. She didn't have anything else happen, and never figured out what it was. I suggested an owl or something hitting the windows, but she insisted it was far too loud and forceful to have been an animal or human. As we were discussing it, my mom came to tell us dinner was ready. We told her about the odd events. When we got to my sister's, she said, "Oh yeah, I heard it too." She said it was so loud she thought a tree had fallen or that a car had hit the house. She went outside to check, but saw nothing. It was just a still, quiet night. After that, nothing else happened. I never felt the house was haunted or anything like that, but those incidents stick out in my mind. That was the last story in this video. Hear you in the next one. Keep your common sense. Bye.